I am enough of an artist to draw freely upon my imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. Only those who attempt the absurd can achieve the impossible. The ideals which have lighted me on my way and time after time given me new courage to face life cheerfully have been truth, goodness, and beauty. Teaching should be such that what is offered is perceived as a valuable gift and not as hard duty. Never regard study as duty, but as the enviable opportunity to learn to know the liberating influence of beauty in the realm of the spirit for your own personal joy and to the profit of the community to which your later work belongs. Great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds. Look around at how people want to get more out of life than they put in. A man of value will give more than he receives. Two things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity, and I'm not sure about the universe. I speak to everyone in the same way, whether he is the garbage man or the president of the university. The environment is everything that isn't me. Live with purpose. Don't let people or things around you get you down. When I examine myself and my methods of thought, I come to the conclusion that the gift of fantasy has meant more to me than any talent for abstract, positive thinking. Older men start wars, but younger men fight them. The idle man does not know what it is to enjoy rest. Excellence is doing a common thing in an uncommon way. Before God, we are all equally wise and equally foolish. There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales. Logic will get you from A to Z. Imagination will get you everywhere. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. When you are courting a nice girl, an hour seems like a second. When you sit on a red-hot cinder, a second seems like an hour. That's relativity. A clever person solves a problem. A wise person avoids it. Any fool can know. The point is to understand. Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. If we knew what it was we were doing, it would not be called research, would it? Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. A human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. try not to become a man of success. Rather, become a man of value. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. One cannot help but be in awe when he contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery each day. The world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science. I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. If I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician. I often think in music. I live my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music. You never fail until you stop trying. The measure of intelligence is the ability to change. Gravitation is not responsible for people falling in love. Creativity is intelligence having fun. If A is a success in life, then A equals X plus Y plus Z. Work is X, Y is play, and Z is keeping your mouth shut. Everything must be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. The best way to cheer yourself is to cheer somebody else up. Whoever is careless with the truth in small matters cannot be trusted with important matters. What is right is not always popular, and what is popular is not always right. When you trip over love, it is easy to get up. But when you fall in love, it is impossible to stand again. Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. A question that sometimes drives me hazy: am I, or are the others, crazy? The pursuit of truth and beauty is a sphere of activity in which we are permitted to remain children all our lives. We dance for laughter, we dance for tears, we dance for madness, we dance for fears, we dance for hopes, we dance for screams. We are the dancers, we create the dreams. The woman who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. The woman who walks alone is likely to find herself in places no one has ever been before. It would be possible to describe everything scientifically, but it would make no sense. It would be without meaning, as if you described a Beethoven symphony as a variation of wave pressure. I must be willing to give up what I am in order to become what I will be. I never made one of my discoveries through the process of rational thinking. Love is a better master than duty. Once we accept our limits, we go beyond them. Nothing happens until something moves. If you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. I'd rather be an optimist and a fool than a pessimist and right. Out of clutter, find simplicity. Only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. Few are those who see with their own eyes and feel with their own hearts. I live in that solitude which is painful in youth, but delicious in the years of maturity. Imagination is the highest form of research. However rare true love may be, it is less so than true friendship. God does not play dice with the universe. The most incomprehensible thing about the world is that it is at all comprehensible. The only thing that you absolutely have to know is the location of the library. You can never solve a problem on the level on which it was created. Reading, after a certain age, diverts the mind too much from its creative pursuits. Any man who reads too much and uses his own brain too little falls into lazy habits of thinking. I never think of the future. It comes soon enough. What a sad era when it is easier to smash an atom than a prejudice. Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better. Weakness of attitude becomes weakness of character. Student: Dr. Einstein, aren't these the same questions as last year's final exam? Dr. Einstein: Yes, but this year the answers are different. It has become appallingly obvious that our technology has exceeded our humanity. Few people are capable of expressing with equanimity opinions which differ from the prejudices of their social environment. Most people are incapable of forming such opinions. If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solutions. A true genius admits that he/she knows nothing. The hardest thing in the world to understand is the income tax. Do not worry about your difficulties in mathematics. I can assure you, mine are still greater. If there is any religion that could respond to the needs of modern science, it would be Buddhism. If people are good only because they fear punishment and hope for reward, then we are a sorry lot indeed. You cannot simultaneously prevent and prepare for war. Common sense is the collection of prejudices acquired by age 18. My religion consists of a humble admiration of the illimitable superior spirit who reveals himself in the slight details we are able to perceive with our frail and feeble mind. I believe in intuitions and inspirations. I sometimes feel that I am right. I do not know that I am. If at first the idea is not absurd, then there is no hope for it. The revolution introduced me to art, and in turn, art introduced me to the revolution. Life is a preparation for the future, and the best preparation for the future is to live as if there were none. He who joyfully marches to music rank and file has already earned my contempt. He has been given a large brain by mistake, since for him the spinal cord would surely suffice. This disgrace to civilization should be done away with at once. Heroism at command, senseless brutality, deplorable love of country stance, and all the loathsome nonsense that goes by the name of patriotism. How violently I hate all this. How despicable and ignoble war is. I would rather be torn to shreds than be part of so base an action. It is my conviction that killing under the cloak of war is nothing but an act of murder. The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. The tragedy of life is what dies inside a man while he lives. Laws alone cannot secure freedom of expression. In order that every man present his views without penalty, there must be spirit of tolerance in the entire population. The more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. Somebody who only reads newspapers and, at best, books of contemporary authors looks to me like an extremely nearsighted person who scorns eyeglasses. He is completely dependent on the prejudices and fashions of his times, since he never gets to see or hear anything else. A person starts to live when he can live outside himself. When the solution is simple, God is answering. The only thing that interferes with my learning is my education. I want to know God's thoughts. The rest are mere details. Intellectual growth should commence at birth and cease only at death. One thing I have learned in a long life, that all our science measured against reality is primitive and childlike, and yet it is the most precious thing we have. If I were to remain silent, I'd be guilty of complicity. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only be changed from one form to another. Possessions, outward success, publicity, luxury. To me, these have always been contemptible. I believe that a simple and unassuming manner of life is best for everyone, best for both the body and the mind. No, this trick won't work. How on earth are you ever going to explain in terms of chemistry and physics so important a biological phenomenon as first love? All religions, arts, and sciences are branches of the same tree. All these aspirations are directed toward ennobling man's life, lifting it from the sphere of mere physical existence and leading the individual towards freedom. Everything is determined, the beginning as well as the end, by forces over which we have no control. It is determined for the insect as well as for the star. Human beings, vegetables, or cosmic dust, we all dance to a mysterious tune, intoned in the distance by an invisible piper. Even on the most solemn occasions, I got away without wearing socks and hid that lack of civilization in high boots. Although I am a typical loner in my daily life, my awareness of belonging to the invisible community of those who strive for truth, beauty, and justice has prevented me from feelings of isolation. Student is not a container you have to fill, but a torch you have to light up. God is subtle, but he is not malicious. A man should look for what is, and not for what he thinks should be. The only sure way to avoid making mistakes is to have no new ideas. Einstein was once asked how many feet are in a mile. Einstein's reply was, "I don't know. Why should I fill my brain with facts I can find in 2 minutes in any standard reference book?" It is, in fact, nothing short of a miracle that the modern methods of instruction have not yet entirely strangled the holy curiosity of inquiry. For this delicate little plant, aside from stimulation, stands mainly in need of freedom. Without this, it goes to rack and ruin without fail. You have to learn the rules of the game, and then you have to play better than anyone else. Dancers are the athletes of God. The only escape from the miseries of life are music and cats. As far as the laws of mathematics refer to reality, they are not certain. and as far as they are certain, they do not refer to reality. The true value of a human being can be found in the degree to which he has attained liberation from the self. 3 great forces rule the world: stupidity, fear, and greed. It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. Nationalism is an infantile thing. It is the measles of mankind. A foolish faith in authority is the worst enemy of truth. If my theory of relativity is proven successful, Germany will claim me as a German, and France will declare me a citizen of the world. Should my theory prove untrue, France will say that I am a German, and Germany will declare that I am a Jew. The only source of knowledge is experience. Past is dead, future is uncertain, present is all you have, so eat, drink, and live merry. My passionate sense of social justice and social responsibility has always contrasted oddly with my pronounced lack of need for direct contact with other human beings and human communities. I am truly a lone traveler and have never belonged to my country, my home, my friends, or even my immediate family with my whole heart. In the face of all these ties, I have never lost a sense of distance and a need for solitude. At least once a day, allow yourself the freedom to think and dream for yourself. I thought of that while riding my bicycle. Force always attracts men of low morality. If most of us are ashamed of shabby clothes and shoddy furniture, let us be more ashamed of shabby ideas and shoddy philosophies. It would be a sad situation if the wrapper were better than the meat wrapped inside it. It seems to me that the idea of a personal God is an anthropological concept which I cannot take seriously. I also cannot imagine some will or goal outside the human sphere. Science has been charged with undermining morality, but the charge is unjust. A man's ethical behavior should be based effectually on sympathy, education, and social ties and needs. No religious basis is necessary. Man would indeed be in a poor way if he had to be restrained by fear of punishment and hope of reward after death. Learning is experience. Everything else is just information. What really interests me is whether God had any choice in the creation of the world. The human spirit must prevail over technology. No amount of experimentation can ever prove me right. A single experiment can prove me wrong. I don't try to imagine a personal God. It suffices to stand in awe at the structure of the world insofar as it allows our inadequate senses to appreciate it. A table, a chair, a bowl of fruit, and a violin. What else does a man need to be happy? Be a loner. That gives you time to wonder, to search for the truth. Have holy curiosity. Make your life worth living. Never do anything against conscience, even if the state demands it. How I wish that somewhere there existed an island for those who are wise and of good will. We are in the position of a little child entering a huge library, whose walls are covered to the ceiling with books in many different languages. The child knows that someone must have written those books. It does not know who or how. It does not understand the languages in which they are written. The child notes a definite plan in the arrangement of the books, a mysterious order which it does not comprehend, but only dimly suspects. You see, wire telegraph is a kind of a very, very long cat. You pull his tail in New York, and his head is meowing in Los Angeles. Do you understand this? And radio operates exactly the same way. You send signals here, they receive them there. The only difference is that there is no cat. Now he has departed from this strange world a little ahead of me. That means nothing. People like us, who believe in physics, know that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. I believe that Gandhi's views were the most enlightened of all the political men in our time. We should strive to do things in his spirit, not to use violence in fighting for our cause, but by non-participation in anything you believe is evil. As our circle of knowledge expands, so does the circumference of darkness surrounding it. I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the lawful harmony of the world, not in a God who concerns himself with the fate and the doings of mankind. To Rabbi Herbert Goldstein, 1929. Strange is our situation here on earth. Each of us comes for a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeming to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we do know, that man is here for the sake of other men, above all for those upon whose smiles and well-being our own happiness depends. Everything that is really great and inspiring is created by the individual who can labor in freedom. You do not really understand something unless you can explain it to your grandmother. Do not grow old, no matter how long you live. Never cease to stand like curious children before the great mystery into which we were born. To punish me for my contempt for authority, fate made me an authority myself. Our separation from each other is an optical illusion. Everyone must become their own person, however frightful that may be. Weak people revenge. Strong people forgive. Intelligent people ignore. Adversity introduces a man to himself. A society's competitive advantage will come not from how well its schools teach the multiplication and periodic tables, but from how well they stimulate imagination and creativity. He to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. His eyes are closed. The most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or hostile universe. It occurred to me by intuition, and music was the driving force behind that intuition. My discovery was the result of musical perception. Wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it. The world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it. Don't listen to the person who has the answers. Listen to the person who has the questions. The only thing more dangerous than ignorance is arrogance. A happy man is too satisfied with the present to dwell too much on the future. The value of achievement lies in the achieving. Never give up on what you really want to do. The person with big dreams is more powerful than the one with all the facts. Most people say that it is the intellect which makes a great scientist. They are wrong. It is character. Successful marriage requires falling in love many times, always with the same person. Love is like a beautiful flower which I may not touch, but whose fragrance makes the garden a place of delight just the same. I am by heritage a Jew, by citizenship a Swiss, and by makeup a human being, and only a human being, without any special attachment to any state or national entity whatsoever. There is no logical way to the discovery of these elemental laws. There is only the way of intuition, which is helped by a feeling for the order lying behind the appearance. The most important motive for work in school and in life is pleasure in work, pleasure in its result, and the knowledge of the value of the result to the community. There could be no fairer destiny for any physical theory than that it should point the way to a more comprehensive theory in which it lives on as a limiting case. Occurrences in this domain are beyond the reach of exact prediction because of the variety of factors in operation, not because of any lack of order in nature. Concern for man and his fate must always form the chief interest of all technical endeavors. Never forget this in the midst of your diagrams and equations. In matters of truth and justice, there is no difference between large and small problems, for issues concerning the treatment of people are all the same. I am not only a pacifist, but a militant pacifist. I am willing to fight for peace. Nothing will end war unless the people themselves refuse to go to war. Nothing truly valuable arises from ambition or from a mere sense of duty. It stems rather from love and devotion toward men and toward objective things. I do not believe that civilization will be wiped out in a war fought with the atomic bomb. Perhaps 2/3 of the people of the earth will be killed. That deep emotional conviction of the presence of a superior reasoning power, which is revealed in the incomprehensible universe, forms my idea of God. Compassionate people are geniuses in the art of living, more necessary to the dignity, security, and joy of humanity than the discoverers of knowledge. The grand aim of all science is to cover the greatest number of empirical facts by logical deduction from the smallest number of hypotheses or axioms. To make a goal of comfort or happiness has never appealed to me. A system of ethics built on this basis would be sufficient only for a herd of cattle. To raise new questions, new possibilities, to regard old problems from a new angle requires creative imagination and marks real advance in science. I do not believe in immortality of the individual, and I consider ethics to be an exclusively human concern, with no superhuman authority behind it. It stands to the everlasting credit of science that by acting on the human mind, it has overcome man's insecurity before himself and before nature. Too many of us look upon Americans as dollar chasers. This is a cruel libel, even if it is reiterated thoughtlessly by the Americans themselves. Only one who devotes himself to a cause with his whole strength and soul can be a true master. For this reason, mastery demands all of a person. The man who regards his own life and that of his fellow creatures as meaningless is not merely unfortunate, but almost disqualified for life. One strength of the communist system of the East is that it has some of the character of a religion and inspires the emotions of a religion. Most of the fundamental ideas of science are essentially simple and may, as a rule, be expressed in a language comprehensible to everyone. I most seriously believe that one does people the best service by giving them some elevating work to do, and thus indirectly elevating them. I am strongly drawn to a frugal life, and am often oppressively aware that I am engrossing an undue amount of the labor of my fellow men. I want to go when I want. It is tasteless to prolong life artificially. I have done my share. It is time to go. I will do it elegantly. I have remained a simple fellow who asks nothing of the world. Only my youth is gone, the enchanting youth that forever walks on air. The release of atomic energy has not created a new problem. It has merely made more urgent the necessity of solving an existing one. The unleashed power of the atom has changed everything save our modes of thinking, and we thus drift toward unparalleled catastrophe. I salute the man who is going through life always helpful, knowing no fear, and to whom aggressiveness and resentment are alien. Nothing is more destructive of respect for the government and the law of the land than passing laws which cannot be enforced. The devil has put a penalty on all things we enjoy in life. Either we suffer in health, or we suffer in soul, or we get fat. Whoever undertakes to set himself up as a judge of truth and knowledge is shipwrecked by the laughter of the gods. I think and think for months and years. 99 times the conclusion is false. The 100th time, I am right. We should take care not to make the intellect our goal. It has, of course, powerful muscles, but no personality. When I am judging a theory, I ask myself whether, if I were God, I would have arranged the world in such a way. The fear of death is the most unjustified of all fears, for there's no risk of accident for someone who's dead. A calm and modest life brings more happiness than the pursuit of success combined with constant restlessness. All that is valuable in human society depends upon the opportunity for development accorded the individual. Mozart's music is so pure and beautiful that I see it as a reflection of the inner beauty of the universe. The destiny of civilized humanity depends more than ever on the moral forces it is capable of generating. To the master's honor, all must turn, each in its track, without a sound, forever tracing Newton's ground. The example of great and pure individuals in the only thing that can lead us to noble thoughts and deeds. The attempt to combine wisdom and power has only rarely been successful, and then only for a short while. There comes a time when the mind takes a higher plane of knowledge but can never prove how it got there. I very rarely think in words at all. A thought comes, and I may try to express it in words afterwards. True religion is real living, living with all one's soul, with all one's goodness and righteousness. Innovation is not the product of logical thought, although the result is tied to logical structure. In order to be an immaculate member of a flock of sheep, one must above all be a sheep oneself. Isn't it strange that I, who have written only unpopular books, should be such a popular fellow? It's strange to be known so universally and yet be so lonely. All these primary impulses, not easily described in words, are the springs of man's actions.